This is Bible School Radio, KDKR, Decatur, Dallas, Fort Worth, KYJC, Commerce, and KMWC, Bethany. On the web at kdkr.org and on all your devices with the Live 365 app. Portions of KDKR programming do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or staff.
Prudent Money with Bob Brooks is sponsored by the Prudent Money Foundation on 91.3.
Well, things to keep in mind as we enter in a new 4-year Trump presidential term. Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I definitely appreciate it. Well, if you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in. And that's how we get those questions answered, all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. You can sign up for a spot on my calendar if it's a little bit more complicated than just an email question. But I'm very committed to that process and committed to helping you out. That's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. You've heard me talk about James Clear before. He's an author of a phenomenal book called Atomic Habits. He has sold over 20 million copies all over the world, different languages. And I want to share share a quote from you. And by the way, he's got and I've mentioned this before, but I'll keep mentioning it because I wanted to make sure that you take advantage of it. It's, excuse me, it's all, it's a free resource that he has at jamesclear.com. And it's a couple times a week he sends thoughts, how to develop good habits, just all kinds of really growth-oriented work. And I love this quote from him that came out of his book. It says, use what you already know. People are so busy searching for a shortcut or hoping an easier path will reveal itself. They let numerous moments slip by when they could get results simply by doing what is right in front of them. And you know, when I think about that quote, I think about risk, and I think about luck. You know, luck is a funny thing. It's rarely, if luck strikes, it's rarely because of a individual's skill set, although it can make you look and feel pretty smart if you figure out something that somebody else hasn't when really just luck struck. And it's typically short-lived. And you see this all the time, many different situations where, you know, as a good example, the person who wins the lotto and the high percentage of people who win the lotto end up losing everything. But people spend a great deal of time looking for the shortcuts. And you have to face decision. And I truly believe that a lot of the shortcuts people are looking for all have to do with eliminating risk. If you can eliminate risk out of the formula, out of the situation, then you can make an easy decision. But that's not how life works. And that's why people a lot of times don't make a decision, because they know they're going to have to take a risk. You know, people who are successful are oftentimes referred to as lucky, as if success was handed out like a genie in a bottle, when no person knows the number of sacrifices that were made to create that success. It is not luck, it is the combination of putting in the work, the vision required, and intentional time on our knees, staying in a place of constant gratitude. to whatever God allows our journey to look like. Just something to consider. It was on my mind. Thought I'd share that with you. But once again, if you go to jamesclear.com, you can see all the things that are available there. And what he has done is he's looked at the whole idea of sending out emails, having an email list that people consume as content, and realizing what the downside is. One of the downsides could be that what most people send out is too long, and it's a 50-50 chance as to whether it gets read or not. But he has really worked this down to a science, and the best of all, it's just real good information that you can benefit from. So it's a big day today, I guess, depending on where you sit on, what aisle you sit on. But President Trump has been sworn in, and here we go. So the question that I get quite a bit, and I purposely stayed away from a lot of this during the election. I talked about the election, obviously, but what that term looks like. But here's a couple of thoughts on President Trump's second term. I don't think that it's going to be an easy money stock market like it was in the first term. And I think that has to do with how the first term shaped him as a leader, as a man in the highest power position in the world. And I think that it showed him that there's better ways of doing things. Now, granted, I don't always agree with what he does, but I do support him. And definitely, I think a lot of people are that way. But I don't think, like I said, I don't think it'll be an easy stock market type setup to where he is. Although I'm sure there will be plenty of pumping up the markets and saying things that may be valid, maybe not be valid. But anyway, that's the first thing. Second thing is, be very, very careful not to follow the scams. Scammers will take advantage of this this environment by looking like you are missing out. And there's all kinds of programs that he'll talk about, but might necessarily not engage into or take it, or to even take the first step. But he is swinging for the fences, and that's what his second term looks like. And in that swinging for the fences, the big wins, scammers take advantage of things by making you feel as if you take this step and this step, you will be included in that. Be very, very careful. I saw today a report, and it was I don't know if it's necessarily a scam, but it did encourage people to go to the next step and sign up for something. But it was talking about the fact that President Trump, and this may or may not be true. I have not read this or heard him talk about it, but that he's going to wipe out IRS debt. Now, anybody that has the worst debt that you could possibly have ever is the IRS debt, because of the mounting penalties and interests and everything that goes along with it. Any thoughts of eliminating that debt is something people typically who have the debt are drawn to and will do anything to get out of that debt. But that's just an example. Number 3, be aware of the president who has nothing to lose. Now, this is what's different, I think, about President Trump and his second term, is that he's, most presidents who get reelected, they do some legacy type things that they end up being known for, making a difference. And President Trump, he has nothing to lose. because he is going to be in his second term. And I think he's going to make real big shots at changing things. And with the passion that he has about change and the things that he'll be up against are going to be pretty interesting to watch. Number 4, the first term was the opening act. This should be a powder keg. I don't mean anything negative by that, except for it's when you try to enact change, you're poking the bear with the with the stick. And change can be explosive as much as it can be impactful. He's making some pretty big claims, annexing Canada, taking over Greenland, the Panama Canal, the Gulf of America. He's like I said, he's swinging for the fences, and what that does cause, and of course, there's all the concern with tariffs and that he's going to be enacting and follow and implementing. But listen, make sure, make no doubt about it, Washington is a mess. It's somewhat of a disaster, and he's trying to clean it up. So the question, though, that I would have is, just like any politician, any president, any leader, how are they going to pay for it? Because as it is right now, we're barely paying the bills. $36 trillion is our U.S. national debt. $36 trillion. That's 1 million millions is a trillion. And that number only expands. We'll talk a little bit about that on the other side. This is Bob Brooks. We're up against a break. Stick around. I'll be right back. Hello, this is Bob Brooks. Proverbs 22:3 and Proverbs 27:12 are the exact same verse word for word. I call them the stewardship verses of risk. A prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. On the Prudent Money Radio Show, we teach about risk, how to identify it, how to figure it out, and what to do about it. We believe that to be a prudent steward, you have to be a good risk manager. Listen to the Prudent Money Radio Show on Bible School Radio 91.3. Prudent Money, home of the modern-day steward movement.
Hi, I'm Tim Moore, Senior Evangelist on Christ in Prophecy. With all the uncertainty in the world today, it is good to know that God's promises never change. Every weekend on Christ in Prophecy, we'll examine the signs of the times and consider what's really happening in the world today through the lens of God's prophetic word. To hear more biblical hope for the future, join me every weekend for Christ in Prophecy.
Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. here on Bible School Radio 91.3.
Enjoy KDKR wherever you go on all your devices with the free Live 365 app. Just download Live 365 from your app store and search for KDKR Bible School Radio.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Interesting site to go to, usdebtclock.org. And what this site is set up to do is track second by second the U.S. national debt, Social Security, Medicare, the interest on the interest on debt. It tracks credit card debt. It tracks student loan debt. Student loan debt now is at $1.7 trillion. Credit card debt is at $1.3 trillion. It's unbelievable. And so, that's really, at the end of the day, if you put it together, this is, we face an unprecedented debt crisis with I mean, this is not sustainable. I guess that's the bottom line. It's got to be something's got to be done about it. And with all the things that President Trump wants to make go away, it makes you really want to ask the question: how are we going to pay for it? And because when you make all these different things go away, those things we're paying interest into the IRS coffers and pay for all this debt that we've got. It says, let me see, where did I see that? Well, it's not jumping out. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, here it is. U.S. federal spending. So the government is spending $7 trillion. U.S. federal tax revenue is $4.9 trillion. So as you can tell, we're spending roughly $3 trillion more. And I don't know if they do this based on a calendar year, or a fiscal year. But the bottom line is it's way out of balance. And really, that's the best way to describe things, is that things are pretty out of balance. And that causes a lot of volatility. So all of that creates a bunch of gloom and doom and predictions. And, the dollar's going to crash. You should go buy gold. The grid is going to be taken out. The electrical grid is going to be taken out. And that is a very real concern. That don't get me wrong, that could happen. But there's a lot of things, though, that are blown completely out of proportion, and only out there. We've talked about this before. Only out there to sell newsletters and quick fixes to give you protection against whatever the situation is. This is the way that I've looked at it, is that most of what you read on the internet are things that can't happen until you see some serious deterioration in the government, in the economy. I mean, a true, real crisis occurring, a crisis like we've never seen before. I just don't think we're that. Don't get me wrong. I think we've definitely walked off the trail, if you will, and gone down the wrong road, and we're making some headway on that wrong road. I don't think, though, that we're so far down that wrong road that we're any day now the dollar is going to crash. I mean, I was watching social media last night and just couldn't believe all the predictions. I mean, predictions everywhere. So just kind of keep that in mind, and be careful making decisions just based primarily on these predictions and what could happen and that sort of thing. Of course, it goes without saying, pray about your decisions, especially, what we're talking about is financially based decisions. God wants to know, wants to help, wants to send you guidance, wants to help you figure out some wisdom to make better decisions and really figure out how to solve any financial problems that you have to take. But this is what I would do, and this is what I do, apart from my own family. And these are some steps that I would suggest that you take and really consider today to make sure you are ready for change. The first one is, and we talk about this quite a bit, is your investment strategy. I'm not saying take all your money out of anything that's risky and curl up in the middle of the floor and do that. I'm talking about making sure that you have your risk managed and that you have a plan A and a plan B. Plan A is the market's going up, everything seems okay. Of course, today the market was closed, so so there was a nice, not full of stress day, at least for me. And the market was closed. And if things go south, that you know what you're going to do. Now, Pop Culture Finance will definitely speak against that, but truly believe as long as you have a plan A and plan B, you have a chance to survive whatever may or may not happen. The second thing is, and you're probably going to wonder what this is in this list, a valid estate plan. That you know if something happens to you, that your family is without question taken care of. If something happens to you and your spouse, that your family is definitely taking advantage, that they're taken care of. So a valid estate plan, that would be, especially what I always call the nuclear option. If something happened to both parents and you have young children, who's going to take care of them? How is the money going to be that comes from life insurance, savings, investment accounts? How is that all going to be handled? How is that going to be distributed and at what ages? And it's a little bit of work to do, but it's a very comforting feeling once you've got it done. And I would really encourage for you, those of you who have not done that, just to consider a valid estate plan. An ID theft program is so very important to have because this is going on all the time. I mean, I had someone call me, and I don't know if you do this. I answer the calls just for entertainment value, see what's on the other side, and it said something about Citibank. I happen to have a Citibank card. And so I answered it, and they asked me if my Social Security number was in the last four digits, which it was. They had that information. And they said, well, someone successfully set up an account in your name. Well, I do know that I have a company that watches my credit, and if something changes or there's an alert or a new account or whatever, I get alerted. And I know I didn't get alert, so I didn't spend a whole lot of time on that call. But they're getting smarter and brighter, and they're taking advantage of way more people than you can probably even imagine. So you can always set it up to where you have an alert, notifies you if somebody's trying to break in. The best form of protection is a credit freeze, where you lock everything up and you don't, and they can't get in without your passcode. Just be careful. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of what you answer, how you handle emails. The one piece of information or piece of advice that I think totally makes the most sense is never give out information to anyone who approaches you. Think about that. If you get an email, you get a text, you get a phone call, you get somebody who comes up to your door, knocks on the door, and tells you got a problem and wants to fix it. They're there to fix it. They're there to, with the IRS, whatever. Always don't give information, and call and verify that you're talking to the valid person. And let's see. Another one, a plan to get out of debt. It's not going to happen today or tomorrow, but most people don't even have a plan to get started on it's a journey, but it's a very worthwhile journey. It's something that you've got to do. There's just so much debt. It controls everything in your life, right? And it robs you of your freedom. So that's definitely a part of this list. A plan to get out of debt. We'll talk a little bit about more about this tomorrow. But if you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.